Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at the WNBA, baby. We are back and looking to keep climbing up a little bit more than 9 units on the season. Going to go through the record, and we'll even go through the last couple bets we made right before the Olympic break that we just went through. Going to keep having these videos for you. Continue to follow along and subscribe. Also want to remind you about the Discord. Link is in the description of the video, so make sure you jump in there. Check that out. Got a lot of really good WNBA bettors in there helping me out, and we'll be helping you as well if you do want to click on the link in the description. For now, let's get into that record, get right into my picks for this 3-game slate on Thursday. Had a nice winning day there on the Wednesday before we did go into the break. Picked up about 1.5 units there, up 8.44 on the season now, and still killing it with the sides and totals. That is up more than 9 units, and we are in the positive, up more than a unit on the player props. Been doing really well on those sides and totals. I've got 2 of those bets in here for you of the 3 games that we're looking at. Let's get right into it. First up, we've got the Mystics. They are on the road, taking on the Minnesota Lynx. Been a really, really good team, as we know, in the first half of this season. But now we've got the Mystics coming back with a lot of players that have been out. You see Brittany Sykes likely to play, Shakira Austin as well, and Carly Samuelson should all be back here for the Mystics. And those have been some really big absences for these teams, for this team specifically. Shakira Austin is a one-woman defense down low, and Brittany Sykes has been really crucial for them with her ability to score and play off the wing. So having both of them back is huge. Having Carly Samuelson back, also huge. Going to get her back in there for some three-point shooting as well, and should really, really help out as this team has struggled to score from the perimeter, but they should be a lot better. They've been very good down low. We'll take a look at some of that stuff as well, but Shakira Austin being back for them and getting the start over Stephanie Dolson is going to be massive for this Mystics defense. Minnesota has a clean bill of health as well. They're going to have everybody starting. There are going to be some players coming back from the Olympics where they played a good amount of minutes. We got Nafisa Collier, as we know, did some really nice things for the USA team, averaged more than 23 minutes a game. Bridget Carlton, also a pretty nice tournament there with Canada, and then Elena Smith as well. Got some really, really good minutes for Australia. So all 3 of those players are coming back after a good amount of time played in the Olympics. We'll see how that impacts them. I do think that the fact that more of the players here on the Lynx got some time overseas is going to be kind of impactful compared to the Mystics, who come back really, really rejuvenated and healthy. Looking at the against the spread records here, Washington's been a really big upstart, to be honest with you. They're a team that you could look at even potentially some money line wins here as a feisty team that's probably underrated when they're fully healthy. Now, they haven't been healthy, so they've been big underdogs a lot, and that has helped them keep their against the spread record really, really good, especially on the road for a team that has not really done much on the road. You can see 3-10 overall, but when it comes to covering the spreads that have been very big, such as this 8.5-point spread, they are pretty good at covering that more than half the time that they've gone 8-4-1 now on the road against the spread. The Lynx have actually been surprisingly better on the road, at least against the spread. Now, they're 11-3 overall when they play at home, but they've only covered 50% of those games. 7-7 is the against the spread record, and in part it's because they get these really big spreads at home where they've been a better team and a top 3 team in the league for most of the season so far, which is a big reason why those spreads are so big and why it's not as likely that they're going to cover these large numbers. Looking at the head-to-head matchup here, starting with the way Washington has played, you can see bottom 4th or so in the league in terms of offensive and defensive rating. Not very helpful here, but 3 players returning should impact that dramatically, especially this defensive rating. I think with Sykes and Austin back, you're going to see a lot better defense from Washington moving forward. As far as the pace, been middle of the pack and playing Minnesota, not expecting too many points, pretty low total, as you can see as well. Rebounding, been a big problem. Stephanie Dolson getting time over Shakira Austin. Big reason for that. Not known for her ability to sort of eat the glass as much as she's a shooter from outside. And that has been something they've been okay at in terms of shooting now for Washington. 6th overall, middle of the pack, not great, but having Samuelson back especially should help them out a ton. On the other side of the court, you can see Minnesota been one of the best teams in the league, especially with that D rating. Now, the offensive rating has dipped a bunch since they were about 2nd best in the league about a month ago. So a month before the break, I should say. We'll see if they can get back into their shooting ways, as they were really knocking down a ton of threes. That slowed down for them. The pace has been very slow and should maintain at that pace as well. So this is not going to be a high-scoring game by any means. And rebounding has also been a problem for this Minnesota team. For one of the best teams in the league, they are not a good rebounding squad, but they are a good shooting team. And they're going to have to rely on those deep threes as well to continue to help them on offense if they're going to make a run for the championship in the playoffs here down the stretch. On offense for Washington, you're going to see them rely a ton on outside shooting. Maybe a little bit less now with Austin back, but they're probably going to need some time to ramp her back up into offensive shape. And she is known much more for her defense. They probably will need to continue to score from the perimeter. You can see in terms of 3-point attempts and make, they're in the top 4 in both of those. The points off turnover and their ability to really play good perimeter defense has been a huge reason why they've had success at times and overachieved with the way that they've been so injured, to be honest. But those free throws I bring up, because they are not getting to the line, they're relying on jump shots so much that, we'll see how well they play against a defense that's pretty good for Minnesota, as you can see. You can see, though, Minnesota does limit opponent points off of turnovers. They take care of the ball, so that's going to be a big feather in their cap for this game. Not as good down low. They have been worse at times, honestly, in terms of limiting points in the paint, but they've gotten much better in the top 5 now. And the threes is where their defense is really good. They don't even allow you to take that many threes, but they certainly don't allow you to make them with that perimeter defense. Best in terms of limiting the amount of threes made by their opponent. And they don't really give up free throws. Not that you're going to see this Washington team really rely on that too much, but it is an area that Washington is probably going to try to get better at if they plan on actually making a run here to get into the playoffs and stay there. On offense for Minnesota, it's a lot about that 3-point shooting and really good perimeter defense that leads to those points off of turnovers. So if Washington turns the ball over, this might not be a very close game, to be honest with you. But if they're able to at least hit some of those threes, as we know they're going to be taking a lot of them, that's going to be the area that they really need to excel at in order to keep this thing close with Minnesota, who's a much more formidable team. Minnesota, points in the paint is going to be a big problem, but we know that it's really strength on strength here. Minnesota's very good 3-point defense and their 3-point offense versus Washington's really good defense down low. So give me the Mystics, plus 8.5. It did get bet down from 10 is where this thing opened in favor of the Minnesota Lynx. The Mystics have come back a bunch, though, as they've been bet now to 8.5. And I believe in part it's because of the stuff I was kind of talking about at the beginning here, where you saw Collier and a couple other players for the Lynx that are important get a lot of minutes compared to the way that this Washington team has been able to rest up, get all its players healthy for the first time this season since like the first game of the season. And now they're in a really, really good position to sort of surprise some people coming back from the break, fully well rested and focused on this game. So we're going to take them to cover the 9 points that we've got, plus 8.5. Next game up, we got the Sky playing at home against Phoenix. And if you look at this Sky lineup right now, Kennedy Carter is questionable, which is a big if for this squad. They're going to need her to be in there, continue to be their best guard on the perimeter, which she has been. Elizabeth Williams most likely out for the whole season, so we shouldn't be seeing her again. Going to be seeing Angel Reese going up against Brittany Griner, though. We'll take a big look at that matchup, as well as Camila Cardoso. For the Mercury, it looks like Rebecca Allen's not likely to make it in this one. Going to need Griner to step up even more and get a whole bunch of boards probably in this game. Other than that, we're finally going to be able to see, Natasha Cloud, Diana Taurasi, Kalea Copper, Griner all playing together. It would be great to have Allen to round out the starting lineup, but at least we're finally going to be able to see most of their key players in at the same time for a Phoenix Mercury team that has probably underachieved compared to expectations so far. If you look at the against the spread stuff here for the Mercury, 8-4 at home. They're on the road though, 7-6 against the spread there, and only 5-8 overall on the road. And now they're favorites. So I'm really not feeling comfortable about taking them in this game, to be honest. I do think they have a pretty good run at some point in the second half of the season in them. They've underachieved up to this point, but it's tough to take them on the road right now where they have not been a very good road team. As far as the Sky though, they have also been very bad at home, 4-8, both against the spread and straight up. Same for the 6-6 on the road. It's the same against the spread and overall, wherever they're in terms of straight up as well. I just don't trust them as well at home. It's a big reason why I'm actually not touching a side in this game, is that I don't trust either team in this scenario. I would lean a little bit more towards the Sky, but full disclosure here, I've got 2 player props for this game. No sides or totals that I'm playing. Head-to-head, we know Phoenix has been a much better offensive team than they have defensively. 5th in O rating versus the 9th that they are in defensive rating. Bottom 4 in the league there. Still playing at a pretty fast pace. Fluctuated between like 3rd and 5th fastest in the league. And rebounding. Big problem. Very surprising, to be honest, that this Mercury team has been so bad at grabbing boards. Worst team in the league in terms of their rebound percentage. Shooting has been a calling card for them. We know they're going to take a lot of threes. That's led to them having a top 5 3-point percentage and effective field goal percentage, I should say, as well in the league. For the Sky, interestingly, they've been really good in a lot of areas on the floor, but the offensive rating still 2nd worst in the league, and they've actually had to rely on their defense a lot more to really help them out. 6th best in terms of the defensive rating, so right in the middle of the pack. Very good at keeping the pace up, though. They do like to get the boards and go and not really take too much time out of that shot clock. And they are a very good rebounding team, which is a big part of their success. When they're able to dominate the boards, there's clear correlation to them having success and winning the game. But the shooting and the offense continues to be the problem. Second worst offensive rating, second worst effective field goal percentage as well. Now you've got Marina Mabry not on the squad anymore either. I don't expect the shooting to improve for this Sky squad down the stretch. For Phoenix on offense, it's all about the shooting. Third most attempts from deep, fifth most makes, something they're going to continue to rely on. And I will say, going to the basket, going to the rim, it's been a little bit better for them since Griner came back, which makes complete sense. Now fifth in terms of their free throw rate on the season. They're going to continue to need to get easy buckets that way because they're not getting very much in transition, and they're really not getting and finishing around the paint. It's a lot of post-ups with Griner and a few second chance points here and there as well that have helped them. But for the most part, they need to hit the three in order to win. And this is where the Sky excel. They are very good on defense, limiting three-pointers. Now, they will give up free throws, and that would be the problem. And a big reason why I'm hesitant to even just take them as a home dog right now is because of the fact that Chicago might have some trouble on the boards. And if they do have trouble on the boards, that could lead to a lot of second chance points and free throws, especially for Natasha Mack and for Brittany Griner as well, who are going to both be imposing figures down there and might have some trouble when it comes. The Chicago Sky might have some trouble limiting them and keeping them off the boards and getting easy buckets or getting to the free throw line. Now, as far as Chicago's offense, though, they are very good in a good amount of areas, and that could be a real big factor here in this game, specifically the second chance points and the offensive rebounds for themselves. Now, they've been very good on the offensive glass, and both these teams have struggled on the defensive glass, including Phoenix, who is not very good at limiting rebounds to the opponent. So Chicago might have some success there, especially with Angel Reese down low getting a lot of boards if she's able to. She has a rebound prop of 13.5 rebounds, which is a ton. So we'll see how that actually plays out for her. But Cardoso as well has been massive on the board since she's gotten healthy and gotten her minutes ramped up to an actual legit starter minutes here. In terms of fast breaks, though, and points in the paint, really good there as well. So we're going to see them continue to try to get easy buckets by going to the rim, by getting out into transition, and really scoring as down low as often as possible, because especially without Marina Mabry in there now, their three-point shooting struggles. As for Phoenix's defense, as I mentioned, not very good at limiting offensive rebounds, 10th worst in terms of giving up offensive rebounds to their opponent. Also, second chance points, both very correlated. Get those second chance points off of those offensive rebounds. That's why I do think an over is a bit more likely in this game, with a bit of a pace coming from both teams and the second chance points probably available for both teams. They've been a little bit better recently, Phoenix has, at limiting fast break points and points in the paint. They were as bad as 9th or 10th roughly 3 weeks before the break. So they've come back a little bit in terms of getting back on defense and limiting stuff down low, but not as good as the Chicago Sky team has been on offense. I'm going with an under here for Angel Reese at 26.5 points and rebounds combined. That's my best bet from this game because I don't really trust both these teams to score, especially because Chicago's defense has been so much better. And I really think 3.5 is a fair number for Phoenix to be favored, although I would go with Chicago before I went with Phoenix, to be honest. At the same time, I don't think that Angel Reese is going to have the success that she has in the past. It's going to be a big reason why I can't really bet on Chicago. I think when you have Brittany Griner at 6'9", Natasha Mack at 6'4", you're talking about two ladies that are just made for the ability to stop somebody like Angel Reese, who, in her own right, has done an incredible job on the boards, but 14 rebounds against these two in the lineup at the same time is a lot to ask of Angel Reese. And then you've also got the fact that, in terms of the points, she's gone under this for 4 in a row. She needs to score right around the basket, and she's got 2 of the best shot blockers in the league down low. A team that has not given up much within 5 feet of the basket in Phoenix, gotten really good at limiting points in the paint, and specifically those points right next to the rim. So without those abilities at her disposal, I don't think Angel Reese is good for the points, and I don't think I think adding 14 boards for her to go under that is a really nice number, as well, as that is so high, even for someone as good of a rebounder as Angel Reese. At the same time, I gotta go with Griner to go ahead and get her boards over 6.5 rebounds there for Brittany Griner, mostly because I just think this is a little bit of a low number, even for somebody who's not as good of a rebounder for as big as she is. But there is something about going up against this rook and Angel Reese. We've seen Asia Wilson dominate the glass. I do think we're going to continue to see Griner get over this number, which she has done very consistently now. 8 of her last 11. Her minutes started to get ramped back up. She's clearly back into gameplay mode at this point because, especially with the Olympics Olympics, where she got a good amount of minutes there to keep helping her get that stamina back up. Really like Griner to just get the over 6.5 boards in this one. Last game on the slate here, we've got the Liberty taking on the Sparks in LA. Talk about a disparity between two teams that have basically just been on opposite sides of the coin the whole season. Liberty, now clearly the best team in the league, especially record-wise, a couple games up on the Connecticut Sun. We're going to see them probably have to play without Lainey Hamilton again. I believe she's almost officially ruled out. She's been so doubtful that it's not likely she's going to come back for this game yet. But everybody else is still going to be in there for the Liberty, including those two Americans that had really big tournaments for Ionescu and Brianna Stewart. So we should see them continue to roll here and continue to gel the way that they've been playing together really, really well, especially the second half of this last part of the season. For the Liberty, they're still going to be without Lexi Brown, who should make a comeback in the next couple of weeks, but we know Cameron Brink out for the season. Other than that, they're healthy. They've got their players, especially with Azura Stevens coming back. We'll probably see her get a bunch more minutes now in this upcoming game here, as she was playing really well down the stretch at the end of the first half of this last season before the break, or the first part of the season before the break. But it's still really just about Dearica Hamby. I mean, the Sparks really don't have much guard play between Kia Nurse and Ari McDonald. Just haven't really cut it so far this year. If it's not coming from Hamby, you're not really seeing too much from them on either side of the floor. Interestingly here, if you look at the against the spread numbers for the Liberty, I mean, they're 12-1 at home and 9-3 on the road straight up. When we look at the against the spread stuff, they've been way better on the road. And to be fair to them, their spreads are massive at home, anywhere from 13.5 to 15.5 points for the Liberty. It's kind of what they've been seeing. That's what this would be if they were playing in New York. You'd get at least 3 points for this New York squad in terms of the home court advantage. But now we've got them on the road. Still 11-point favorites is massive, but they're 8-4 in terms of covering on the road, winning 9 of the 12 games as well. So not too worried about their ability to score and to keep this thing pretty far apart when they're on the road. Similar for the Sparks, they just happen to be playing at home. They have not covered at home, 4-7-1 in terms of against the spread, with a 4-8 record at home, and then 7-5 on the road. So a bit better there in terms of covering. But either way, there's really not much of a home court advantage outside of, yes, it sucks that the Liberty needs to fly all the way to the West Coast from the East Coast, but they should have done that with enough time here to get used to it and be able to handle this Sparks squad, to be honest. For New York, we're talking about one of the best offensive teams in the league. Well, the best offensive team in the league, according to offensive rating and shooting and every other metric, to be honest with you. But as far as their defense goes, it's gotten way, way better. Up to 4th best in the league. Was hovering around 6th or 7th for a while, but has really tore it back up here on defense. The pace for this squad down to 9th, which actually been good for them because they started this season not struggling, but not as good as they are right now, that's for sure. And they were playing a lot faster. So I think being a little bit more in control and worrying less about getting those fast break points has just helped them a ton, as that offense has looked really, really good in the half court. The rebounding has gotten better as well. It was also down a bit, up to 5th, been around 4th or 5th. They're going to want to keep that in the top 4 if they expect to, be able to hang with a team like the Aces, maybe this time in the finals if they make it there. But the shooting has been really the key here for them. Ionescu's been on a complete tear, as we know. So has Stewie, to be honest, picking it up over the course of the last 6 games before the break. She's also been on somewhat of a tear. Both of them at a pretty high point prop here in this game for good reason. And everything I just said about the Liberty does not apply to the Sparks here. As you can see, both 10th in offensive rating and in defensive rating, playing at about middle of the pack pace. Okay at rebounding, 7th best. I mean, everything that they do well is around the rim because it comes from Dearica Hamby, the only one really looking good for this squad this season. The ability to make shots from deep hasn't been there for the Sparks either. A big reason for their inability to win too many games. 8th in terms of the effective field goal percentage. And to be honest, if Hamby wasn't making most of her shots around the rim, it would probably be even lower. For the Liberty on offense in that matchup, as I mentioned, it's all about the threes, and there's still some good amount of fast break points, even though that pace has slowed down for them. They're still the number 1 fast break team in the league and number 1 in terms of 3-point shots, makes, and attempts. Not getting to the free throw line very much, but to be fair to them, don't really need to when you're making so many shots from outside. As far as LA's ability to limit this squad, I kind of worry about it. I mean, 8th in terms of 3-point defense overall. They do limit your ability to get to the free throw line, but they don't get back. And they miss so many shots with such a bad offensive field goal percentage that it does allow a bunch more opportunities for the Liberty to get out in fast break, which is where this Sparks team is not good. 9th in terms of giving up fast break points. That is 4th worst in the league. As far as the sparks on offense, if they're not getting to the free throw line with Dearica Hamby, they're in trouble. They are fifth in terms of offensive rebound percentage, in part, once again, because Hamby does get second chance points, but they're only ninth in terms of second chance points because she's the only one doing it. And they're not really good at making those shots. If they get a offensive rebound and kick it back out for three, not much in the way of 3-point shooting for this team available. It's a big reason why they struggle so much is that shooting. Sixth in points of the paint, middle of the pack, once again, mostly due to Dearica Hamby. Don't really think she's going to have the ability to run through a really strong front line for this Liberty squad. And so we are not worried about the Liberty and their ability to score in this game. We're going to take them to cover the 11 points. I know it's been a tough sort of stretch for them, considering that they now have to fly two of their players, at least, and Jonquel Jones as well. So three of their players are going to be flying from Paris to the East Coast, then from the East Coast to the West Coast. Not worried about it, to be honest. That's the level of disparity between these two teams. The Liberty should be able to continue to handle things on the road where they've been really, really good. So we're going to take them to cover the 11 points. And that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. Continue to follow along. Going to be coming back with the WNBA. Also going to have a couple of announcements coming about the NFL and some things that we have in the works. So definitely want to subscribe to that page. Jump into the link in the description as well. That's where you're going to find all the promos that you might be able to use for yourself, especially on things like outlier.bet, props.cash as well. So make sure to check all that stuff out. See you in the Discord. And until I do talk to you next, happy betting.